Welcome to Catch and Go. In today's telecast, we're going to do the title called The Coming War in the Indo Pacific. Write PowerPoint number 1, you write the Indo Pacific. PowerPoint number 2, you write the Alliance. PowerPoint number 3, simply write the Rebellion. PowerPoint number 4, when everything is dying. PowerPoint number 5, the Unthinkable. PowerPoint number 6, a world rattled by a living God. PowerPoint number 7, radical changes. Next to that, to world powers. And then somewhere on your paper, somewhere on the top, you simply write each one matters. And I want you to circle that because that is the key to this entire title, an entire message that I'm doing called The Coming War in the Indo Pacific. And I told you to circle each one matters because when we're closer to the end, closer than you think so, you see the anticipation. Why in the world would I come out and tell you the anticipation unless God quickly, seconds into this video, took my eyes into the realm of the spirit, took them into the heavenly realm, showed me the words anticipation, and then the Lord uttered and brought a divine utterance for this first time. The first time the Lord showed me the word anticipation. Then he comes and he utters and speaks for the first time, and he said, the rapture. Remember PowerPoint number 2, the Alliance, the Antichrist Alliance. And I do have to do a part 2 to what the Lord is bringing a second divine utterance. And that second part is to the board of peace, the structure of the board of peace. PowerPoint number 3, the rebellion. You saw that I just released the title not too long ago called The Rebellion, and I will go back and do a part 2. But one of the things that you're beginning to see is the Great Apostasy, and you're seeing the entire world begin to rebel more and more, and you're going to see that the Lord is going to bring PowerPoint number 6 to fruition, a world rattled by a living God. God is about to rattle world power, world governments, world empires, global alliances. The Lord is about to bring a stunning blow to the infrastructure of AI. Remember, I did a title called God's Stunning Blow to the infrastructure that has to do with AI and the entire structure that they're building together, putting together. And I have said the moment and a repeat like the Tower of Babel. PowerPoint number 4, when everything is dying. And you need to understand, everything is simply dying by the second. And that's why I told you to circle each one matters. Your life matters, your soul matters, your children matters, your wife matters, your husband matters. Everything about you matters to God. And God's not only concerned with civilization, the Holy Spirit is grieving because he also sees PowerPoint number 3 in full effect, and that's the rebellion. But remember, I gotta do a part 2 to the title, The Rebellion, from Daniel chapter 9. When everything is dying, when a world is full of darkness, a world in darkness, you're going to see that civilization will turn not only on each other, you're going to see not only divided into 2, but also the unthinkable. Tell somebody the unthinkable and the unsearchable things that you and I were giving, not only as a principle by the word of God, to search things out carefully, not only to search things out and try to understand to the best of our knowledge when the time and the season is full and ripe, when the Lord will come back. In this title, The Coming War in the Indo Pacific, in the part 8 of the sequence, the grace of God said that everyone will begin to quickly pivot to the east. And remember, the Lord showed me in bold letters 2 words, arm race. And I said, you need to understand God's greatest, not only prolific and historical prophecy in the 21st century, when I was in Singapore and the grace of God begins to speak concerning a nuclear arm race, concerning Iran, concerning China, concerning not only the Russians, concerning the oil crash, concerning the U.S. What you're beginning to see also is weapons of mass destruction, and the Lord brought a divine utterance, and the grace of God said, chemical warfare. Or should we say it this way? Though the Lord said chemical warfare, you need to put also there biochemical warfare, and you need to write that down and circle that, because you're going to see the war intensify. Not only in the Black Sea, you're going to see laser beams. You're going to see biochemical warfare and chemical being released in this war. And in the East, in civilization, strictly dying by the second, because PowerPoint number 4, when everything is dying, you need to understand, I have said over and over, turbulence in the sky, a world rattled by a living God, radical changes to world power, the coming war in the Indo Pacific, and the Lord wants not only those leaders, Indo Asian leader, to prepare, and everyone in Southeast Asia, because you also need to bear in mind and keep in mind that Beijing has been trying to outmaneuver not only the leaders and those ASEAN leaders by agreeing to a code of conduct in the South China Sea. And that is the biggest trap that Beijing's got when it comes to the leaders in Southeast Asia. Now, I'm going to speak concerning the very thing that I said that you needed to circle first, and that it matters the most. And that was each one matters. And let me put my pen down and let me begin to close, because I want you to understand that your soul matters to God, that your children matters to God, that your wife and your husband matters to God, that your finances matters to God, that everything about you, everything concerning your life and your soul or your loved ones or your family matters to God. Remember, there is a time for everything. God is showing me Ecclesiastes chapter 3, a time for peace, a time for joy, a time for rejoice, and a time for war. And you're beginning to see that we're closer and closer and inches away, not only from the Ezekiel 38 war, but also you're going to see first what is going to shape up is that everyone will begin to pivot east. I have said over and over that NATO needed to build a Southeast Asian alliance over in the Far East. I said it and made it practically clear that NATO needs to quickly beef up its security, not only over in the Black Sea, concerning the Black Sea and concerning the war between the Ukrainians and Russians, but also I have made it very clear for quite some time and for a long time, and as early as 2020, 2021, 2022, and so on, until this day, that NATO is a bit too passive. NATO needs to be more aggressive. NATO needs to quickly build that NATO alliance in Southeast Asia, over in the Asian Pacific, but also, the Lord said, in the Pacific Islands, because China is trying not only to bring about world dominance, and China is practically wanting to dominate the entire world by claiming every piece of land, every shipping port, and every shipping lane. And if the world doesn't wake up, China will simply begin to dominate. And I hope that every Asian leader and every ASEAN leader and every nation in Southeast Asia pays close attention to this title and this message, or else you're going to find your soul in jeopardy. You're going to find your nation at a point of no return, not only very fragile, but also not only China controlling what the Lord said, the shipping lanes and the shipping ports, and China telling you what to do, when you can come, when you cannot come, when you can go through, and when you cannot go through. the South China Sea. And remember the battle and the war down in the bottom of the sea, in the bottom of the ocean. Who gets to the cables first? The coming war in the Indo Pacific. But I have said in my closing, each one matters, and everyone and every individual and all of civilization does matter to God. But remember, the Lord said last week, we are at the brinks of the collapse. Everything collapsing. You're going to see that white horse from Revelation chapter 6. You're going to see devastation. You're going to see things in people being devastated. People looking not only to how to be able to have food at the table, not only have food at the table to make and provide for your family, but also, I have said over and over, each one matters because it's about timing. It's about God's perfect timing. And in God's perfect time, the Lord is not only going to move the globalists to take over with the Antichrist, with world power, world government, world leaders. You're going to have a one world government system, the digital ID, the digital currency, and then they're going to pound you and put maximum pressure for you to give in and take the mark of the beast. But this title, The Coming War in the Indo Pacific, everything simply will start dying. You're going to see that everything will start to die. You're going to see what the Lord said, the beheading. You're going to see the frustration of civilization, humanity at the point, not only at a boiling point, let me say that again, at a boiling point, that they no longer can sit around and take not only what world leaders, world power, world governments are doing, but also what your next door neighbor is doing, but also not only your loved ones and your family. And remember, divided into two. And you're going to see what's coming, what the Lord just showed me. And the Lord showed me those words in the realm of the Spirit. He first uttered those words, and the Lord said was coming. It's the separation. And I'm going to tell you why he said that. But PowerPoint number 5 and 6, the unthinkable in a world rattled. And if you think that I spoke and did that title several months ago, or maybe more than a year ago, you're in for a rude awakening, because the grace of God popped my ear open to hear the sounds of, not only the sounds like a bang sound, where you're going to see that there is turbulence everywhere. People running, people scrambling. The Lord said to me, people running out of gas. There's not enough gas to go around. The oil crash, not only the Strait of Hormuz completely closed down, glowing up in flame, the battle inside the Red Sea, in the Strait of Hormuz. And you're going to see what the Lord just said to me in Egypt, creeping in closer and closer, and being closer than ever before to the nations that are aligned in alignment with the Abraham Accord. And recently, just a few days ago, Saudi Arabia was simply given the choice by Donald J. Trump to either join and sign to the Abraham Accord, or simply you're going to realize that there's no nuclear weapons agreement. God simply saying to pay attention, because I am going to do the title pretty soon called Phase 2 of the Gaza Strip, and everything completely going up in flames. But I said the next one, the Indo Pacific, but pay attention to the South China Sea, because you and I and each one of us matters to the living God. You need to be prepared and ready, because the Lord just uttered these words, and he said, and the bridegroom is coming out of his chamber, and he's showing me Daniel 12 verse 1, but then he's showing me and Michael going to work against Lucifer, and Lucifer loses that battle, and we go up in glory. Did you witness descend? And then you got those 3 unclean frogs From Revelation chapter 16, you got being Antichrist, you got the false prophet, and you got Lucifer, and you got a world in darkness, or should I say it this way, a world in pitch darkness. I leave it right here. May the Lord so richly bless you. Remember to click like, share, subscribe, hit on the bell to receive our latest telecast. And I catch you on my next telecast of Catch and Go. God bless.